They say America runs on freedom, gasoline, and a little bit of rebellion. And if you needed proof, you only had to look at the street corners of 1960s Detroit, or the walls of a teenager's garage in small-town Ohio. Because there, proudly taped up, you'd find a calendar. 1 part horsepower, 1 part high heels. This was the American dream on 4 wheels, with a wing. Today, we're taking you back to a time when muscle cars ruled the roads, and pinup girls ruled the imagination. When gas was cheap, skirts were high, and chrome was king. This is pinup power and muscle cars, a retro American dream. So, sit back, relax, and let the rumble of a V8 engine lull you into a simpler, shinier time. Long before the Mustang hit the showroom floor, there was another kind of American icon revving hearts. The pinup girl. She wasn't born in Hollywood, though you might think so. No, she first showed up in soldiers' lockers and footlockers, keeping company with lonely GIs during World War II. She came in the form of illustrated dreams, Betty Grable, Rita Hayworth, and countless artists' interpretations of the girl back home. She wasn't scandalous, not really. She was wholesome, but spicy, playful, but never crude. Think of her as the original influencer, except instead of selfies, she had oil paint and victory curls. Her popularity skyrocketed during the war. She was morale in lipstick, patriotism in heels. And when the boys came home, they brought her with them. But this time, she wasn't hanging in barracks. She was posing on the hoods of Cadillacs and Camaros. Now, let's talk about her co-star, the car. In the late 1950s and into the early 60s, America had a bit of a horsepower addiction. The economy was booming, suburbia was exploding, and Detroit had figured out that if you put a big engine in a small car, people would line up around the block. Enter the muscle car, the Pontiac GTO, the Chevy Chevelle, the Dodge Charger, the Ford Mustang. Each name sounded like a bar fight waiting to happen. And that was the point. These weren't just cars. These were statements. You didn't drive a Barracuda. You unleashed it. You didn't commute in a Camaro. You ripped asphalt. And what better accessory for these growling machines than a woman who could match their attitude? You see, it wasn't just about the car. It was about the scene. Picture it. It's 1967. You're at a car show in California. The sun's out, the paint jobs are candy apple red, the engines are polished like mirrors. And standing next to every fire-breathing road beast, a woman who looks like she just stepped off a movie set. Hair teased a mile high, heels you could use to check tire pressure, a dress that says fashion but a pose that says dangerous. This was more than marketing. This was pageantry.
It's manga artist land, facing tap.
These women weren't props. They were part of the performance. They brought softness to the steel, style to the speed. It was an era when femininity and power shared the same space, and that space usually had leather bucket seats and a cigarette lighter. Now, let's talk calendars. You know the ones, hanging in garages, taped to gas station walls, hidden in the back of toolboxes. Each month brought a new reason to check the schedule, though very few people cared about the dates. These weren't just random models. Many were well-known pinup artists like Gil Elvgren's muses or the real-life actresses they inspired. And the cars, they weren't background noise. They were the other half of the fantasy. A cherry red Thunderbird beside a windswept Maryland. A Corvette Stingray caught mid-glint behind a blonde with aviators and a smirk. Every image whispered freedom, power, beauty, all in one frame. That was the dream, and it sold like premium unleaded. Let's leave the posters behind for a moment and hit the road. It's Friday night. You've got a quarter tank of gas, a pocket full of nickels for the jukebox, and a date in the passenger seat. You cruise past the local drive-in, tires squealing just enough to say, "I'm here." She laughs, hair blowing in the wind. You don't need GPS. You need a milkshake and a slow song. Cars parked in rows, engines ticking down, girls perched on hoods like goddesses of the grease pit. Laughter in the air, the smell of fries and gasoline mixing like some strange American cologne. This wasn't a photo shoot. This was life. And the car? It wasn't transportation. It was your calling card. Now, let's talk about why this worked. Muscle cars were loud, aggressive, over the top, and so was the fashion. You had cars with names like Demon, Fury, Super Bee, and Cougar. And women who wore leather like it was armor and eyeliner like it was war paint. Together, they formed a visual language, a dialogue of danger and allure. The sweeping fenders mimicked hips, the headlights sultry and low, the fashion meant to mirror the curves of the cars themselves. There's a reason so many classic car ads featured women, not just for the male gaze, but because style and power, when combined, sell better than any engine spec sheet.
By the time the 70s rolled around, the dream started to shift gears. Gas prices soared, insurance premiums spiked, the government started regulating emissions, and suddenly, your 400 horsepower fantasy got detuned to something that felt more like a riding mower. Pinup culture too began to change. The era of implied innocence gave way to something more explicit, and eventually, less charming. But for a while, just a little while, there was a golden overlap, a brief, roaring window of time where chrome, curves, and charisma reigned supreme.
Today, we look back on those times not with longing for the past's flaws, but for its flavor. Car shows still honor these machines. And modern pinup culture lives on, proudly retro, defiantly stylish. There are still women today who curl their hair, sling on a polka dot dress, and strike a pose next to a gleaming '69 Camaro, because power never goes out of fashion. Collectors wax their charges with reverence. Artists recreate the old calendar style with a modern twist, and every once in a while, you hear a deep engine growl and turn your head, not because it's fast, but because it sounds like freedom.
So what was it, really? Was it the car? The girl? Or was it the idea that life could be just a little bit larger than it had to be? That a car could do more than get you from A to B. It could be B. That a look, a stance, a sound could make your heart beat faster, not from fear, but from possibility. This was the American dream in chrome and curls. A little impractical, a little wild, a lot unforgettable. Thanks for riding along with us. If you like this trip down memory lane, hit subscribe and let us know, what was your dream car? And who would you have wanted in the passenger seat? Until next time, keep your engines tuned and your style timeless.